Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the CEE Elevator webinar. My name is Maria Takachova, and I work for Google Slovakia. Together with my colleagues, Hania and Justina, we are taking care of the elevator. Today's webinar will be presented by Janusz and Simone, who you guys already met during the Warsaw opening event. I hope you will really enjoy it, and please do not hesitate to ask questions via live chat. Now, I'm giving the word to Simone, who will tell you more about this webinar. Simone, just one thing. Could you please unmute yourself because we cannot hear you now? Thank you.
Sorry for everyone. Welcome again. You did not hear me. I'm sorry, I forgot to unmute myself.
Simone, you have to unmute.
Is it not unmuted?
Now it's perfect. Thank you.
Oh, okay. So welcome everyone to our first webinar. With me in the call is actually Hania, Justina and Maria that you have already seen. And we are presenting all the coaches, the elevator community. And with me here in the call is actually Janusz.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, exactly. Because we actually were with you in Warsaw in the beginning of April, and we wanted to just recheck in with you. You work with us on individual basis, on a one-on-one basis. So we wanted to see where you are with your transformation, what's going on, and if you may have any kind of experiences or what's going on here. Our objective of today is really to encourage you and to inspire you to really implement the things that you have learned in your one-on-one sessions, but also share a bit of what you're actually discussing behind the scenes to really open this up a bit to a broader community and to learn maybe a bit from each other, because the community itself is also quite strong. And since Janusz has implemented the buddy principle, maybe you also talk to one or the other agencies, and it's maybe also nice to share something here in the community. What we have on the agenda is we do a brief temperature check. So I want you to also use the Menti that we already used during our days during our day in Warsaw. I will speak a bit about the coaching process and also something that I examine at the moment. It's the growth mindset to implement things. But Janusz will also emphasize how important it is as a C-level to really steer yourself, your self-management efficiently. And then we would really take the time, like 30 minutes, to discuss with you and to see if there's anything that we can cover more, maybe what we should bring up also during the session in September when we meet again in Warsaw, and to just get a bit of vibes from the community. Let's start with a brief temperature check. You know the Mentees. I will just go over now to the Mentee screen. And we would like you to actually go on www.menti.com. You see this up here, and use the code 32677 and just vote how you actually feel at the moment about your current growth traction within your agency. So do you feel quite confident? Do you feel excellent, good? Are you really flying high, or is it actually really poor? How do you feel? It's just like a feeling question. And of course, everything is anonymously and nothing will be distracted. So we have already one vote. That is in good, perfect. Oh, good, that sounds very good. So we have some people that really feel quite confident. Ah, very good. So maybe there is also some kind of network clustering effect. Everyone feels very good, that's perfect. So let's see, the 8th is coming as well. Yeah, that's quite nice. So we have 8 people that feel really good. I think the majority is feeling really, really good. That's perfect. Yeah, it was interesting because we made this session also beginning of June in Germany. And in Germany, I have access to the barometer from the government, like from the Chamber of Commerce for service service companies, and an agency is a service company. And actually in Germany, in the first half year, service companies actually fell a bit in their belief of the business. And on our elevator roundtable in June, we had actually opposite, that everyone felt like here really confident and really good about the outlook, about the prospect of the agency. So I think it's great. So if everyone here in the room feels really good and confident about your traction of transformation within your agency, of growth, then we are very happy. Thank you for sharing this. Before we start, I want to give us all a big applause. I don't want to clap myself alone here, or here's also with me some the two fragile colleagues. I don't want to make a big applause now, but thank you so much for sharing so many things during our community meeting in Warsaw, during our one-to-one sessions on remote, or also partly on site. And also for committing from your side to so much growth, because that is really exceptionally. Thank you. What do we see about the coaching progress? Actually, all of you have filled with their coaches the so-called scorecard, and we have asked you with around 30 questions, how do you feel about certain areas within your agency, about strategy, service offering, marketing, sales, and customer development, people and organization, as well as trusted advisor. And what we did, we actually provided you the scores. At the moment within the community, 46% excellent level, maturity level is in the area strategy. We have 49% in service offering, which is actually the highest score. We have 47% in the marketing, sales, and customer development area. We have 43% in people and organization. And we have 37% in trusted advisor, which is the weakest score at the moment. What does this mean? Behind this questionnaire, this scorecard, there's actually something that we evaluate about the maturity level. And all over, we say if you have 100%, you're a fully customer-centric organization. You have built up an organization that is managing itself towards their customer purpose, and that really can steer volatility or whatever through a more customer-focused view. What we see in comparison to other markets, for instance, the DACH market, Germany, Austria, and Switzerland, as well as the Nordics, the CEE market is a bit weaker. It also depends maybe of the size of the agencies, because we have a bit younger agencies, not all of them, but in the majority, I would say the German agencies are much older, in average over 15 years old. So that may be an impact, but also maybe about the economic forces and clusters, and also maybe the economic forces. In the service offering, we have in Germany 58%, which is also not so strong. The Germans are lacking actually behind. And the Nordics, they're very structured, take a lot of automation, and they have really like scaling operations. They're at 75%, so they're really good. In marketing, sales, and customer development, both markets are actually towards 60%, 63, 61%. CE is also a bit behind with 47%. Here it's important for us to see that you really have a more systematic approach, a customer segmentation, that you don't treat your portfolio all in the same way. You know, you have maybe a client where you have to be more an outsourcing partner, and one client where you have to be a purely professional services partner, to really take a bit of actions, what is in my portfolio and how I want to steer those clients. In people and organization, we have in Germany a high score with 73%. That's also because the German market is really strongly competing on talent. And I think a lot of agencies in the last 2 years caught up with professional services, like a career development plan for an agency, but also recruiting tools, building up leadership, because it's so important. In CEE, we are also quite weak with 43%. And in trusted advisor, actually the gap is not so big. Also on the German and the Nordics market, we learn at the moment how we actually can maybe really start more on consulting and actually selling on a trusted basis, and not just selling in AdWords or search, but really combining with a growth enablement for our clients. And all over, we can say we have 75% of you that is at the moment defined as founder-centric organizations. So that means you're very much depending on your founder. If the founder would be gone, the growth level would also actually shrink. So you may need to work to find a stronger middle management team, a stronger management team, some leadership that really actually develops the agency towards another direction. We have 21% that is already very management-centric. They have probably started to really take over some management structures, some principles, guiding principles within the organization, some way of working, but they lack maybe a bit of customer centricity to really have an agile customer perspective on services, pricing, whatever you need to really bring this to the next level. Here we have only 4% in. And of course, our goal is towards the end of this year, towards the end of this elevator program, to at least shift some of you over there and to really transform you to more customer-centric organizations. Now I would like to make another Mandy with you, how confident you think you could be to achieve a higher customer centricity in your organization. And it's again a Menti, so you know how it works. So you can just vote. And it could be interesting for us also to see maybe when we make a benchmarking again in September, if you have learned something, what you have implemented as milestone, to really see if we may need what we actually need to focus on next year. Maybe we can tailor, if the elevator program is continuing, we can tailor it towards certain kind of topics that is really in your next stage of transformation or whatever. Perfect. So we have definitely likely, that's very good. We have already 3 votes. Perfect. So let's wait a bit. Perfect. So we have 6 votes. That's already good. Neither likely nor unlikely. So it's undecisive. Perfect. Definitely is 50% at the moment. That's very good. Now it shrank a bit. Yeah. Let's wait for 1 more second. Yeah, we have 13. Let's wait for 1 more second and then, I mean, now that definitely is 38%, likely is 46%. So that's a bit, that's definitely good. Neither likely nor unlikely is 15%. So that's maybe someone that has to also talk with their coaches again to really see what is feasible, to not maybe over project certain kind of things, but at least the target should be there to develop with a stronger maturity towards customer centricity. Perfect. I switch back to my slides. And of course, we have spoken in Warsaw about customer centricity. Why is it so important? Just to recap again, this industry is really, really young. In comparison, I worked for some time in the retail industry, sometime also the pharmaceutical industry, as some of you may know. And this is a much more stabilized industry. And this one is a really new market. This digital marketing industry is really quite immersively developing all the time and changing. And what we see here, you really need to define your plus, your beyond search for next year, because just purely offering performance services to actually distribute ads on Google or Facebook or any publisher may not be leading to any revenues anymore in 5 years or something. So that's why it's very important if you think you want to go maybe towards more data structure, more analytical insights, or more also about creating the magic to target relevant customers, because I see, at least with our other clients that we actually coach at the moment, a lot of them have really problems to focus, to know their why, to understand their customer pattern, to understand what is the retention of a customer, how to speak, how to build up a storytelling approach on the market, how to establish certain kind of things and ads within their entire portfolio. And that's why here it's really important that you think next year, what can I do? Can I serve maybe retail clients more? Can I be an expert in storytelling, in display and video? Is it more that I consult about expansion to other markets? It's really important that you already take the time now to think, what is my beyond search? And that only can happen if you really look on your current customer portfolio. If you want to have something that you're not having as a competence yet in your portfolio, in your service offering, I would not recommend you to do this. So take really the time now, look what you actually serve at the moment, how your team is working, interacting with your clients, and then define what is your beyond search for the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And the question is, of course, how you can transform to customer-centric organization. Discuss this with your coach. You need to make an individual plan. You need to analyze and then make a plan. Very important is that you really have a growth mindset. Why? Because if you say, well, I don't want to transform, I just want to actually stay on a certain level, then it might be already very difficult because you're very change resistant. And that's why I would like to highlight a bit something about the growth mindset, which I'm actually personally very much interested at the moment. The growth mindset, what is it? It's actually a certain kind of skill set to really implement a transformational plan. Janusz will talk with you a bit more about how to implement your transformational plan, how to have a self-management approach to really get into it. I would like to highlight what I see from the research of the last half year. I made some intense research on it. What you really need to have as a leader, what kind of abilities in your mindset to really be open for change. And the transformation means a change for you as a leader, as a CEO for an organization. Why is it so important? In this analysis I did about the mindset, I did it with many agencies from the Nordic and the German market. You can see that those agencies, and now we have to just hide this a bit, that have a very strong, the C-level has a very strong growth mindset and a very well-defined execution or definition and execution of their growth plan. In this quarter up there, and they had a year-on-year growth, and we deducted also certain kind of scale level, like if you're just a newly agency below 5 years, it's of course a bit different, but they could really achieve 31% of growth. Even if they have already turnover of 10 million euro in turnover, they could still grow every year 31%. And that's why I want to encourage you to really reflect a bit of this webinar, how, of course, to make a very good plan and implementing things, but to also allow a change in your mindset to really think how to position yourself in the market, because that's what you need in such a fast changing market like the digital marketing agency industry. Then let's go here to the next one. One of the persons, I think I mentioned it in Warsaw already, that has the biggest growth mindset was definitely Albert Einstein. It has nothing to do with intelligence. It has more something to do to actually take something more into a mindful status, a more aware status, and that you know that you may not know everything. So that you really consider things and you learn every day something new. What is it? It's definitely the native learning ability. Try to learn as much as possible about your clients. Go with your account managers there. Learn what is going on in the industry. Talk also really actively to your clients. What is the challenges? Learn what you can actually maybe offer as a service, or what is actually the current status. Then don't see it as a challenge. See it as an opportunity. If you hear that all of your retailers have at the moment the problem to keep the retention of their clients high, maybe start to talk to your team that you develop some kind of analytical customer retention program or whatever to bring more knowledge to the market. Then really be open for constructive feedback, but also provide constructive feedback. Ask your clients in an NPS score, what can we do better? What do you miss? What would you be really happy when we offer this? How can we improve ourselves? See effort as a chance. I think we don't have so many millennial CEOs here. I have some startups that I coach where you have to teach that everything needs time to grow, and you need to also invest effort. You need to invest time. If you say I want to have only a 50-hour week as a CEO, that might be fine, but then look for a deputy that can help you, because you definitely need to work hard to actually excel. Inclusion, something very, very important, especially in both directions. One people may say, I'm very smart, I only work with very smart people. keep in mind that the brain can transform itself and everyone can learn something if they have the right mindset. And mindset is actually a choice. So don't say from beginning someone is not eligible to do anything. If someone wants to do something, they can actually excel. But the other way around, don't say, hey, I really need the expert, I can't do it. I need a CEO that can manage everything myself. That would mean that you don't believe in yourself. So it needs to be in both directions. Ownership. Needless to say, you're all owner of the companies, but provide also ownership to your middle management team and to your co-workers. Ask them really that they are part of the company, that they are a true colleague, and they really own something that is contributing to the overall success of the agency. And last but not least, own reasoning is very important, especially in this industry where you have so many different streams. Make yourself up your own opinion. Ask your colleagues to really make up themselves an own opinion. You cannot be a crowd that is walking into one direction like sheep. You have to really think. You should be rather swarm intelligent. And last but not least, especially for leaders, trust. If you can't trust in someone that anyone within your agency can actually develop these skills, then you have to really work maybe on yourself. Or if there's something that the person is not developing, then of course, maybe sometimes it's also good to take actions then to exchange. But try to really provide a certain trust level to your employees to also make them feeling owning something and also developing something in a certain direction. In a nutshell, at the moment, we see that this 7 or 8 capabilities of a C-level is really, really helping to develop a growth mindset and to allow the definition as well as execution of a very good business plan or transformation plan. And with this, we are very convinced that you can actually re-innovate your organization. So if that would be the golden circle of the growth of organization, you start to found an organization, you innovate something, you scale, you optimize your organization, you defend your market stage, and then actually 15%, at least in Germany, 15% of all organizations, in 15 years, 50% of the organizations are gone. So because they did not get up in the re-innovation cycle. And I just want to encourage you, take this momentum, really apply a growth mindset to your own mindset, practice it with your colleagues, that you really can get into the re-innovation curve. And I just want to say, it's my own experience. I have also a team. The attitude of your team is really the mirror of your own. If you're not so positive at the moment, you will feel that they're not so positive at the moment. If you're really in the growth mindset mode, they will be in the growth mindset mode. Of course, you can also practice with them, but it is really a leader call. And it's your choice as a leader, what kind of mindset you will bring to the day. And now I would like to hand over the word to Janusz, because he will speak about the efficient self-management.
Hello, everybody. It's really great to be working with you all again. We've had a lot of great sessions, coaching one-to-one sessions with all of you, and I can see some great progress being made. What I'm going to talk about today is probably what I see as the biggest challenges perhaps that agency owners face. Because we talk about a load of good stuff as coaches. We talk a lot about big plans, big growth, big strategies, big vision. And the agency owners go away feeling really, really excited with lots of ideas and lots of energy. And then they sit down in front of their computers and go, right, what does that mean for me now? How the hell do I take this big plan, vision and goal and start implementing it into my business? I've got this all of this really, really great stuff I want to work on. But what does that mean from a day-to-day basis? So today I'm just going to talk about how can we do it? How can we go from big plans, big thinking into the day-to-day? Because we just can't find the time, right? Agency owners are entrepreneurial. Yeah, we have lots of ideas. We're typically visionaries. Don't have business degrees. We don't have MBAs, right? We're always dealing with clients, always dealing with people, and finding the time to do the big stuff, the strategy, the transformational change always seems to get deprioritized. And to coin the cliche, how do I go? How do I go from working in the business to on the business? So I think first and foremost, it's important to understand that at some points of our growth, we're going to struggle. Things are going to get difficult. Every small business, and this was a piece of research done decades ago, and they mapped small business growth, and they identified that small businesses struggle at certain stages. Between 10 and 15 people, agencies struggle. We have a crisis of leadership. The agency owner goes from being the visionary and doing the doing to needing to employ managers or heads of, and all of a sudden the costs increase, the overheads increase, and we can get stuck at about 10 or 15 people. And then when we get to perhaps 20 or 25, we now need some really, really senior directors. We need to develop the C-suite. So through small business growth, we can sometimes get stuck. Moving between these points is a little bit easier, but it's still a challenge. It's hard. The message is growing an agency is hard. Okay, there's a really, really good book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F, which I think has a really nice analogy in that life is hard, growing an agency is hard. It's going to be painful, right? And if we don't have a plan, if we're not working towards anything, if we have no strategy and no vision, we're going to experience probably the same amount of pain and same amount of challenge than if we have a goal and if we have a vision and something that we're working towards. So why not make this pain that we're going to experience anyway worth it? Why not make this pain the transition and the direction towards a bigger goal? Okay, and that's why we've been working on a strategy with you. It's why we have a plan. That's why we have this BHAG, or big, hairy, audacious goal. We know it's going to be painful. We know it's going to be tough. We're working towards this thing, and we break our vision and our strategy down into 5-year, 3-year, 2-year, 1-year plans, and perhaps something we're going to do every quarter. And we know that it's going to be a bit of a mountain to climb. And through the work that Simone and myself have done with you, we've created a vision. We've broken it down to 3 years, 2 years, and vision and goal at the end can sometimes be a little bit faint, a little bit opaque, right? We're not necessarily certain about how we achieve it. But as we get into the now, we start hopefully to see some concrete tasks that we can work on a daily basis, but it can be challenging to find the time. All right. And our vision and goal contains where we want to be in the future. We then try and quantify it, right? If we want to be the best agency in the world, how are we going to get there? Then we develop a strategy, right? What are the actual things that we're going to be doing? From a C-level perspective, we define some milestones. What are the steps we're going to see along the way and develop KPIs? So we've kind of got that far already throughout the coaching program. We then break our kind of yearly objectives, our milestones, down into quarters, and we can use mechanisms like OKRs. We set ourselves a quarterly focus, and hopefully we start taking kind of big bites out of that big strategic apple, that cherry. And then on a weekly basis, we have regular meetings to review progress and perhaps use KPIs and OKR reviews on a weekly basis. So from a theoretical perspective, a theoretical strategic perspective, that's how we go from strategy to kind of weekly action, right? But there's still a bit of a gap, right? How do we go from weekly to daily? How do I know what I need to do now on a daily basis? And we typically have 2 types of tasks that we work on. We have stuff that's urgent and we have stuff that's important. And as a consequence, we tend to spend most of our time in box 1. We work on stuff that's urgent and important, the day-to-day, the phone calls, the interruptions, the client interruptions, the dealing with an employee, right? And that's what keeps the wheel spinning in business. But we also have these not urgent but important tasks, right? Our strategy, our OKRs, developing ourselves a marketing strategy. All the really important stuff is really, really important to the growth of our business. It's not really urgent right now. And for this stuff, we need to plan, because it doesn't happen typically because all this urgent and important stuff gets in the way. So on a daily basis, when we're trying to implement our strategy, we have too many interruptions, too many business as usual distractions for us to ever really get around to doing the important, non-urgent, strategic, transformational work. That's kind of the challenge that I see as most agencies facing. So how do we prioritize? What are our priorities? What should we be doing on a daily basis? Help me, Janusz. What do we do? When do we do it? Well, let's first look at that word priorities, okay? Quick search on Google Ngram Viewer, which effectively looks at where certain words have appeared in texts over time. And we can see this word priority, which ultimately means the most important thing, non-plural, singular, has existed, derived from a Latin word, since the day dot. Yeah, that is a word we've all been accustomed to. Priorities, plural, only really existed, started to be used or found in texts in around 1900. And then we leveraged it. We decided around 1940, do you know what? We're really, really busy now. And we don't just have one important thing that we need to do. We have many. Yeah. We're far too important, far too busy that there's too much to be done. So we have to multitask. Okay. We have to do multiple things at once. The problem with multitasking, trying to do the urgent, important stuff and trying to do the important but not urgent stuff, i.e. the strategic stuff, is that we lose efficiency, we become less productive. We experience what we call context switching loss. So even if as business owners, we manage to find the time to work on our strategy, to implement some transformational change, because we're so busy, because we now have priorities plural rather than just priority single, we try and do it all at once. Yeah, we have 2 tabs open in our browser and we lose productivity, we become less efficient. Context switching loss, effectively, the law around context switching effectively states that with every additional task that you take on, you lose a little bit of productivity. If we have 1 task, we're 100% productive. If we have 2 tasks, we're 75% productive. We've lost this time. Okay. Let's do a little bit of test. I'm going to demonstrate this to you, and you're going to not believe me, right? You're going to say that's a magic trick. I challenge you to try the same thing at home. Okay. So I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as quickly as I can. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Probably took about 1 second or just less than a second for me to say. I'm now going to say A, B, C, D, E as quickly as I can. A, B, C, D, E. Took about the same amount of time as it did to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm now going to alternate. So I'm going to say 1, then A, then 2, then B. As fastly as I can. 1A, 1B, 1A, 2B, 3C, 4D, 5E. Okay. Stakes at the start. And in total, took me probably 4 seconds. Okay. It should have taken me, if we think about it, 2 seconds. 1 second to say this, 2 seconds to say this. It didn't. It took me about 4 to 5 seconds. I've taken on 2 tasks, and I'm now probably 50% as productive than if I would have said this first in isolation and then said this in isolation. Okay. And this happens because when we decide to switch, we lose time. When I go from one task to another, I lose some time just through deciding to switch. Okay. I then have to recall the location that I was at on my previous task. Yeah, I have to remember where I was. Yeah, I lose some time there. And then I need to remember the rules of engagement. I need to remember how 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is sequenced, how A, B, C, D, E is sequenced, how to switch between the tasks. If I'm working on a project or working on a strategy or a document and I need to get my head into something else, I need to decide to switch. Need to remember where I was, and then I need to remember how that project works, what the intricacies are, what the assumptions are. Okay, so we lose a load of time. We try and do 2 or 3 things at once. We become less productive than if we was in isolation. So when we're trying to run a business and do the business as usual, and we're trying to implement transformational change and do all the great stuff that we've spoken about in the coaching sessions, ultimately we start under-delivering on everything. And then the first thing that we drop, and the stuff that we forget about and we leave till later, mañana, is the important non-urgent stuff. It's the strategic stuff. It's the stuff that's going to make a real impact on our business. And we get back to just doing the day-to-day, because that's where we can see the impacts and the change happening. So what's the antidote? Okay, I've painted a very glum picture that if we try and do strategy and run a business at the same time, we're ultimately going to fail. Right? That's the message I've painted. Well, let's go back to this idea of perhaps just doing one thing at a time. Yeah, one thing thinking. Really, really great book by a guy called Gary Keller, who describes the science and the methods around how we can be more productive by just doing one thing. Ultimately, understanding that we only have one priority at this moment in time. So what is the one thing that I can do such that by doing it makes everything else easier or unnecessary? And if we think about the work that we have to do that sits in our important non-urgent box, that box 2, the strategy stuff, perhaps improving our systems and processes or becoming more automated, or through increasing our employer brand. Yeah, if we work on this now and we finish it, that's probably going to make our lives a little bit easier. Probably going to make our business a little bit more efficient. And it's probably going to mean that we're going to have to spend less time in box 1, less time in that business as usual day-to-day stuff. So the message is really, we need to work on one thing at a time to become efficient and productive at it. And that one thing that we work on needs to be the domino, right? The small domino that sets off, that has the biggest impact on the vision and the strategy that we've derived. But how? Right. How do we do it? How do we figure out what it is that we need to work on? How do we implement it on a daily basis? So I've said we need to work on one thing. So I guess the assumption, or we're inclined typically to create a to-do list. Yeah, we go, right, I'm going to be really, really effective. I'm going to write myself a to-do list, and all of this stuff is urgent. Yeah, we're going to call the client. I'm going to place an advert for a new employee. I'm going to send a campaign live. I'm going to discipline. I need to have an awkward conversation with my employee. I'm going to sign contracts with the supplier. I'm going to write a proposal for a big pitch. Yeah, all of that stuff is urgent, right? So we try to be productive by creating to-do lists. The problem is we're overwhelmed. Yeah, our to-do lists grow and grow and grow. And what happens is we get drawn to the simpler tasks. We look for the easy things to do. Yeah, those emails that need to be sent, the easy, simple stuff, and that typically sits in box 1, important and urgent. The simpler stuff isn't, unfortunately, the strategic stuff. So all of our strategic work, the transformational change stuff, gets pushed into tomorrow because it's not simple and quick to do. We're not drawn to the important and urgent tasks. Yeah, and equally, we lack available time context. When we have a to-do list, we kind of forget about the time constraints that we're working within. So if we're working on a strategy and we have transformational change to action, and that involves, say, 4 days worth of work to implement some systems and processes within our business, and it sits on our to-do list, it's going to get pushed into tomorrow, typically. And because we have a quarter to do it, we feel like, well, it's 4 days worth of work. I'll definitely do that this quarter. I'll leave it till tomorrow because 3 months is enough time to get it completed. But in reality, that 3 months means, well, I need to complete it within 6 weeks because then we need to review it, we need to improve it, and then we need to ingrain it into the business. So we lose context of time, and the context of time associated to the transformational change work can be really, really damaging. As a consequence, it means that we never really do it, right? So the challenge is to think about what's the one thing, right? First and foremost, on our to-do list, all of the stuff that we need to do, what's the one thing that I do that I can do now such that everything else comes a little bit easier? What's the small domino? You know, what's that tiny small domino that if I complete it and if I push it has the biggest impact and causes a lot of transformational change to happen afterwards? From a practical basis, how do we implement that into our business? First and foremost, we plan. Yeah, we are 2 to 3 times more likely to take action, to do something that we said we are going to do, if we plan it. Yeah, we have a commitment to ourselves. Yeah, if I say I'm going to do something, there's a 30% chance that it will happen. If I say that I'm going to do something and I tell somebody about it and I put it in my calendar to do it, it's a much higher likelihood that it will happen. And don't just take my word for it. There's a lot of science behind this. This was a double-blind control trial that was done specifically to prove this point, where they tasked a group of individuals to do some exercise once a week. Group 2, they said, just tell us when you've done your exercise, report back to us. And 35% of people did it. Group 3, they said, you tell us in advance when you're going to do your exercise and put it into this calendar, please. And they did, and 91% of people completed their exercise purely by the act of planning ahead and stating that was the time that we're going to do it. It increases the likelihood we do the stuff that we're intending to do. And if that stuff is our transformational change, if it's for our strategic objectives, then the impact of actually planning it and doing the work has the biggest change in our business. Secondly, don't use to-do lists, time box. Okay, time box, piece of research again done by the Harvard Business Review, came out as the #1 productivity tool. the number one thing can make the biggest difference on your productivity within your business. Put something in your calendar ahead of time, give it a name, give it a title, and protect it with your life. Yeah, you may not feel motivated to do that thing on a Monday morning, or you may not feel motivated when you say you're going to give yourself Fridays to work on your strategy stuff. Yeah, you might feel like, oh, I'll do it next week. But stick with it, protect that time with your life, and use that time for what it was intended for. And don't let the important, urgent, business as usual stuff get in the way. And finally, even if you plan, even if you time box, even if you understand what your one thing is, it feels unnatural, I think. It feels really natural to react, to send the email, to deal with the problems, to help our employees. Yeah, we can react very quickly. If somebody asks us a question or needs some of our time, we can do something about it. For the majority, it feels very unnatural to plan and stick to the plan. Yeah, unless we're committed to it. It's like we have an exam coming up, we might not do it. Okay. The challenge is to make it feel natural. Okay. Challenge is to make it feel natural. To do it for long enough that it starts to feel like brushing our teeth. Because initially it feels really unnatural. Later down the line, it starts to feel natural like brushing our teeth. Okay. It typically takes 66 days. Now, the more complex the task, more complex the thing, the longer it takes. Again, a study that happened where they said, let's try and build a habit, have a glass of water after breakfast. Yeah, that typically took 20 days to form the habit for it to feel natural when they didn't have to think about it anymore. When they asked the same group of people to have an orange after breakfast, it took them about 30 days. Yeah, the mere act of opening the orange, peeling the orange, and eating it, because it was a more difficult task, took a little bit longer. Okay, so implementing your strategy stuff, working on it, it's going to feel unnatural, but stick with it, and over 66 days, you start to see the benefits. And the benefits are like a compound interest on a bank account. They take time, right? One cigarette doesn't give you cancer. Going to the gym once doesn't make you fit. Yeah, putting money into your bank account doesn't make you rich. But time is the multiplier. Yeah, put time in your calendar, time box it, make sure you do it, and do it repetitively for 66 days for it to feel automatic, for it to feel like brushing your teeth in the morning, for pulling on your socks. Okay, time is a great multiplier. And again, there's a piece of science that it takes roughly about 66 days. And this was just another study for people going for a walk for 10 minutes after breakfast. It takes roughly 66 days for it to feel natural, that we don't think about it, so that it happens, that it becomes a habit. So to wrap up, in summary, I guess what I'm saying is we create a strategy and a vision for our business. We've done that, absolutely. We work backwards from that point and create a plan and milestones. We use OKRs to set a quarterly focus. Yeah, and we give visibility throughout our business of what that focus is. We meet weekly to maintain traction. We keep an eye on our OKRs. We really create a focus, a review to make sure that we're working on our quarterly objectives. Yeah. We then plan weekly or daily time to figure out what the one thing is. What's the one thing I should do now, so that everything gets a little bit easier. We put the time in our calendar. We don't use to-do lists. We make sure it happens. We make sure we protect that time in our lives. We work on one thing at a time, and we rinse and repeat it, and we try and form a habit for at least 66 days, because it's going to take that long or a little bit longer to start seeing the benefit of it. And it's going to take that long for it to feel natural and not like an additional thing that we need to do on top of everything else that we do. So I'm going to pass back now over to Simone, who's going to launch an open discussion about transformation within your business.
Thank you so much, Janusz. Hello, everyone. I'm back here. I will actually share my screen now, and we were thinking to make the discussion in Menti. So I wait quickly because I know that some of you have problems to see the screen on time. So we have heard now a lot about the, how to realize the vision, strategy, and also to take your plan into action. And I would like you to start to think about some questions. I know some of you may not see the Menti yet, so you can go on menti.com and you can take the pin 461435 to really, so we need to wait still to take up your questions. Maybe you have some questions. I think it was very inspirational what Janusz was actually saying. So maybe you can, So maybe you see the Menti finally, because the Fletcher colleagues sit next to me. Maybe you have some questions for Janusz, what you just heard, maybe for myself about the growth mindset. Maybe you have some questions how to implement OKRs. Maybe you have worked with your coach about with your coach on a new strategy, on implementing a plan. So this is actually the call to action now, to either share something what was really working well for you, or also ask some questions. And it would be really great if we could have as many contributions as possible. So feel free to share, and Janusz will also unmute himself and will jump into some answers. So what was your experience? What was maybe your questions about self-efficiency management as you as a leader, but also about OKRs. Now we have one question, which is great. So the first question was, how would you proceed with introducing OKRs? What would be the very first step for this task? So Janusz, do you want to take this question, or shall I start?
Yeah. I'll give you my perspective on it.
Okay, perfect.
Which is, I think OKRs are very difficult to plan looking forward, right? So understanding what we should be doing now and how we're going to measure it looking forward is very difficult. So Stephen Covey's start with the end in mind. Yeah, come up with a vision. If that's a 3-year vision, what's the 2-year vision? If that's a 2-year vision, what's the 1-year vision? If that's the 1-year vision, what should we be doing now? If that's what we should be doing now, what should we be doing this quarter? And then set the focus around that, because you then know that what you're working on now is the stuff that's ultimately going to deliver on that longer term vision. Would probably be my the headline advice of where to get started. I think.
Perfect. I think I can completely agree with this. Like Janusz said, thank you, Janusz. Also, my experience is OKRs can be very hectic if you do every quarter new OKRs. What I normally do with the organizations I implement OKRs or goals is to really look, okay, what is the vision? What are the steps to actually get there? As also Janusz has shown the etaps. And then you really break it down into buckets, as Janusz has also recommended, instead of task lists. Okay, we want to work on, for instance, a customer-centric service offering. That would be one objective for me. And then you have several tasks, maybe for quarters. You do a customer segmentation, maybe you do a new pricing that you actually will work on. And very important, what I say to the management teams, you need to carve 15 to 20% your time out to really work on those strategic projects, and to also make blockages in your calendar to really fulfill on it. Otherwise, you're too operationally involved. And one of the tasks as you as a leader is to take yourself from business as usual out and to focus on the strategic objectives, because otherwise it actually will wither your growth in a couple of years.
Yeah. I have a case study comes to mind of an agency that I spoke to recently, actually, Simone, where they started the other way around. So they started bottom up, and then by the time the OKRs were they reached the board were like, well, what the hell is this? Where is this taking us? Right. So I think bottom up inclusion, absolutely, but coming from the vision, something at the top is cascaded down to the bottom, so that when you look at the bottom, it fulfills the thing that starts at the top. So yeah, I completely agree with you. As you were saying that, an agency that I work with in the UK kind of came to mind when they went the other way around.
And actually, when you're a very large organization, I have also very large clients. If you have like 1,500 people, you have to anyhow keep a certain kind of structure. It's not possible to change. Then it's like a pure task list, and you can just open Asana. If anyone is interested, approach me. I have distributed to the agencies I work with. I have at the moment a strategizer. It's just a template of one sheeter where you really can always refill your OKRs for the quarter, but map to your strategic goals. Where also your financial targets are in, and you can just monitor that it is really on the right direction. And you can also reprioritize as a management team to think, okay, is the strategic goal already implemented a bit more, and where are we actually on the way? Did this answer the question? So I don't know, I did not get any votes. Let's mark it as answered. And then the next one will come. So the next question is how to measure efficiency of the agency, time, profit, and revenue. Something very interesting that we also discussed this morning. We have plenty of KPIs. Janusz, maybe I start with, and then you go into, you just jump in.
Yeah.
I think one of the most important KPIs that you have to monitor as a service brand is definitely your chargeability or your billable hours. You can have a different pricing, but you need to know, even when you have a performance, a value-based pricing, when is the utilization high, and when it is low. You're efficient when your utilization level is really high. So that means everyone is engaged in value contributing activities. They're priced on a certain level, and we have enough business to really take the people we take the people really into we have really the right people to really work on the work. And I would take only one KPI, and I would take in billable hours. So the people you have onboarded, look on the levels that they're in. So how much trainees do I have? How much billable hours do I have in the organization? And mapping against your sales, what you have actually sold. Then you can tell your sales team we have to sell more because we are not chargeable at the moment. We have just chargeability of 50% or 60%. And if you have sold too much and you have too little people, you have to actually steer towards HR. That's what we did quite efficiently within Accenture. I would not you can track hours, how would they really work, but I would go on the planned hours, because if you say a trainee should work 60 hours per month, then you can assume that with the workload they work 60 hours per month. Of course, you can track the trainee. If the trainee as a person is unproductive, then it's maybe something for their supervisor to work on. But yeah, it's quite important to really take in this as a consideration. Janusz, you want to add something?
Yeah. I think efficiency is contextual, right? So it's contextual on the goal, the vision of the agency, and the stage within the journey, right? So if I take, everybody's running a different race. All of our agency owners are in a different race. One agency, 160 employees, doing 15 million euros, for argument's sake, in revenue, have just been backed by a venture capital firm, and they've said, we want to get you to this amount of revenue within 5 years' time. That's our goal. Now, for them, their efficiency measures are very, very different. They're probably not going to be efficient. They're probably going to make no money over that 5-year journey, because they're going to grow through mergers and acquisitions. Yeah, they're going to really, really scale up. They're going to ramp up their sales and marketing efforts. So their profit is reduced whilst they grow, right? So how they measure efficiency is very, very different. If I take a smaller boutique agency, growth for them is around being what I call a small giant. We want to be great at what we do. We want to have a really, really good community, really, really good team. We want to work with really, really great clients. We want to stay, we want to get no bigger than 30 employees, but I want to take a nice, healthy dividend and spend, only 5 days in the business. How I measure efficiency is going to be very, very different. Okay, so that's the coachy answer, right? Yeah, measure efficiency based on your business. I think the key theme is what the right level, what the right measure of efficiency is for you is dependent again on where you're going and what your vision is. So again, start with the vision and the strategy. What's the plan? Understanding that through different stages of growth, you can measure things, yes, but those measures are going to go up and down. So the Griner curve that I showed, the chart with the orange dots on it, at those points, your profit's going to drop, and you're probably going to become a little less efficient, a little less productive, and that's where reinvestment happens. So message is, where are you going? What's the vision? What's the plan for getting there? Therefore, this is what we're going to measure, with an understanding that it's going to change over time, and it's going to be different depending on what your vision and your goal is. Don't I guess the follow-up message is, don't necessarily copy another agency's measures, because they might be going in a completely different direction to you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I think I'm not unmuted. Let's take this as mark as read. As answer, sorry. Next one. Thanks for the session. Do you have share an OKR agency template that we can start with? How often would you advise us, our team, to do an OKR checkpoint? Monthly, probably weekly, yearly, quarterly? That is a very good question. So I have some OKR templates, but I think you need to really tailor it. If you don't have a strategy and a vision, you can't start with the OKR template. So you have to work with your coach or with your management team first on your strategy. So what is our vision? What is our why? What is the steps we want to go, and what are the big roadblocks on the way? And also some kind of a financial plan. If you have defined that, then I would recommend to really do OKRs, like tasks that you want to, like projects, strategic projects you want to implement, track them in the management team at least on quarterly basis. I have some of my agencies that are now using also a template to populate those goals to their different teams, also to individuals, because they can also make their goals where they want to contribute on top of their daily work. Because if you're an expert already in one field, like you're an expert in performance marketing, you may have a bit of time to also work on a new service offering for maybe Google 360 ads or something. So you can actually work with the strategic team, and you can actually do this. I can definitely share something, but maybe you should also check with your coach how to use it, because it is definitely an 8-step approach. I can also remake this as a webinar in the Nordic region. I will give you this as well. It's like the 8 steps you have to do to implement OKRs. There's also some templates involved. However, just be very precise to really start, as Janusz said, from the strategy, from the business plan down to the OKRs, because it can get very dangerous. Out of a sudden, you have plenty of OKRs. Janusz, you want to answer something? You want to add something?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think quarterly is the right amount of time. Apparently, as human beings, we have the ability to remain focused for 90 days, right? Beyond 90 days, we forget why something was important. Yeah, so we feel really excited now. Let's go and do one thing thinking and create these habits. Really excited. And in a month's time, 6 weeks' time, we kind of forget why it was important because there's all this other shiny new stuff out there. So we can remain focused for 90 days. And 90 days is a long enough amount of time for us to achieve some big stuff. So a big advocate of kind of like setting that quarterly focus. And in that quarter, we're saying, this is what we can complete.
Yes.
We might have 10 things to do, but we are going to do these 3 things and smash them out the park, right? There's no point starting 10 things and get them 20, 30% completed. Let's do these 3 things, right? So I think quarterly focus, don't bite off more than you can chew, and commit to completing them. Meet weekly, I think works really, really well. And by weekly, I mean a 10-minute meeting where you say you're on track or off track. Yeah, create that feeling of accountability among your team to report to you how they're doing. Yeah, that meeting doesn't move. We meet every week, and it's on track or off track. If he's off track, discuss it. Set up another meeting to see what you can do to fix it and bring it back on track. You just have that really, really quick meeting to review progress, and try and include. I think leading KPIs is one of the other challenges I see. So. Often our key results are measured through what we call lagging indicators. They look backwards. We have a KPI to increase sales. We need to close this many deals this month. And what can happen in the boardroom is the person that's responsible for it throughout the quarter says, yeah, we're on track, we're on track, we're on track, we're on track, we're on track. At the end of the quarter, we didn't do it, we're off track. Because we had no understanding of the input, the activity he or she was doing to generate that output. So make sure you're measuring and you're understanding what the input is, the leading activity. If sales is the output, closing, what's the input? You know, is it the amount of minutes we spend on the phone? Is it the number of meetings we go to with clients? Is it the number of conferences we attend? Yeah, so make sure we're measuring the input to have an understanding of what's working and what's not working.
Yeah, I think this is very important. Coming to this question, yes, I can populate the Nordics template, and maybe Hania or Maria will actually send this to the community, but I think then this answer we can actually mark as answered. Can you share some one thing examples based on elevator session? One thing examples. The one thing from Janusz. Yeah. I think I take this over to you, Janusz, because I think you have maybe some insights.
Yeah, thank you. Can I share some one thing examples? Right. Yes. Again, it depends on the strategy and vision for your business. I would say if you have a vision and you have some OKRs, right, and we're struggling to find the time to implement it, right? I tell you what, let's take OKRs as an example. This is the thing that's going to make the biggest difference on our business right now is working on the bigger strategic projects. That's one thing, working on our OKRs. All right, we might have 2 or 3 multiple projects. So my one thing is to make sure that I make time daily, weekly to complete my OKRs, right? Or if we look at our business and we measure it and we say the finances are good, it's a 7 out of 10. Our marketing's great, it's an 8 out of 10. Yeah, we're winning loads of new deals and we're closing those new clients. Operationally, we're really poor, right? We are under delivering, we're over budget, and as a consequence, we're losing all the opportunity cost. There's no point scaling that business. We're building a house of cards. The one thing that we should be working on is getting this operational score better, right? So the one thing we're going to focus on this quarter is hitting our budgets. And how are we going to do that? Perhaps it's through systems and processes, perhaps it's through automation, perhaps it's through reporting. Yeah. So what are the problems and challenges you face in your business? What are the goals? What are your OKRs? And therefore, what's the one thing that's most relevant, most important, given your challenges, your opportunities, and your strategy?
Thank you very much, Janusz. I can add something. We as a team, we do, because we have also OKRs, we do actually at the moment daily, because we have a very small team, but it can be also on monthly level to tell what is the one thing that you actually really want to do today. We have a stand-up. We started also with gratitude, like with thankfulness. We have a little framework that we run. Everyone can speak maximum 3 minutes. And this works quite well. And some one things are really taking a week or 2 weeks, but we know each other. Okay, what is your focus? What are you working on? And it really helps to actually focus, even if there's a lot of other things popping up. We do a lot of coachings. We have new clients. So it really helps to work on the one thing that is now important for me. Maybe that helps as well to really say what is in the group, what is my thing that I'm focused on. Then the next question, according to your experience, what are the basic business KPIs we should keep an eye on as an agency? I think if it's okay for you, Janusz, I start because it's linked back to the other question, how we measure efficiency. Like Janusz said, it really depends what is your owner's perspective on the strategic path. If you want to sell your agency in the next 3 years, you definitely have to look on EBITDA, because the EBITDA will be at the end of the day increasing the price of the shares or your value, and so you will actually make more money out of it. If you are very strongly focused on, because you're a very small agency, to get market share, you should be very much looking on growth, of course also profitable growth. So it depends a bit on the strategic situation you're in. But then there is I would say generally from a business acumen perspective, 4 leading KPIs you should have a look on. The first one is really growth. So how much do I sell? How is my pipeline going? Am I on track or am I not on track? Because this is like the basics. The second KPI I would look into is the chargeability or the billability, because your service brand, you need to know when to hire someone. Do I still have a lot of head space within my workforce to take more clients in? Is the utilization right? When do I need to hire, or when do I need to acquire more business? That's very important because your service, and it's not so easy. It's like your production planning if you're a production company. The third KPI that I really would have a very close look into would be EBITDA. How much is my profitability? What stays below the line? My profitability maybe on the workforce, but all over. I mean, there's not so much additional cost, hopefully. What is really staying under the line, and are you happy with this? I would say service brand should definitely have an EBITDA, even in a growth phase of minimum 15 to 20%, because you should have a bit of security backpack. Maybe there happens something, you lose a big client. So you should not be too unprofitable. And the fourth KPI I would have a very close look would be the happiness index within my workforce. What is the spirit? What is the mindset? How do people feel at the moment? And I would try to measure that in any way as well. You can make an NPS score with your agent, with your employees. You can innovate something new, but it's very important to get some quantitative feedback about what is the feeling within the agency at the moment. Janusz, you want to add some other KPIs besides before?
Yeah, so I think I have 3 answers, so bear with me. One is, answer number 1, right, is planning, strategy and vision. And I'm a big advocate of what I call the FIMO PC model, right? Our business is really simple. Finance, F, marketing, M, operations, so delivering the thing that we do, O, and then PC, people and culture, right? So when we have a vision and we put a strategy together, how are we going to achieve it in the context of those things? How are we going to achieve it financially, operationally, marketing, people and culture? What are the milestones in terms of finance, marketing, operations, people and culture? What's the 3-year plan in terms of finance, marketing, operations, people and culture? And therefore, given the milestones, given the plan, given the strategy, what are the 4 KPIs appropriate for that strategy in the context of finance, marketing, operations, people and culture, and create a dashboard from it, right? That's answer number 1. Again, it's relevant to your strategy and your vision, right? The second answer, which is kind of attached to the client centricity of the work that we're doing, and creating what we call entrepreneurs within the business, right? How do we get our employees to think like mini entrepreneurs, internal entrepreneurs? Well, one thing we can do is we can put them in client-centric teams. Rather than functional silos, we have team A, and in team A, we have a PPC guy, an SEO guy, a programmatic guy, and an account manager. Here are your clients, go work on those clients, work together. How do we get them thinking like entrepreneurs? My 5 kind of golden metrics, right? Let's get them thinking like business owners, all the stuff that as agency owners, we have to think about, right? First and foremost, really, gross profit. Are they delivering their work for the client, making the gross profit on that work? So i.e., if we say it's going to take 10 hours, because that's how much margin we need to make, are we doing it in 10 hours? Are we doing it in 8? Or are we doing it in 14? Gross profit for that team. Secondly, customer retention. Like I've said previously, we can't really grow and scale if we're losing 40%, 30% of our customers year on year. Every customer we lose, we have to get 3 or 4 more new customers. Yeah, winning new customers is great. It's really exciting, and we get a dopamine kick when we do it. But if we're losing 40%, we're just filling the goal, filling that gap. So customer retention. Thirdly, growth. Once we retain them, how much are we going to grow them? Yeah, it's much easier, much cheaper to sell to an existing client. We have 60% chance of selling to an existing client. We have a 5 to 15% chance of winning a new prospect. So let's have growth targets for our clients. Fourth, what's the happiness? How happy are our clients? Net Promoter Score. And this isn't just an indicator of, I guess, retention. They're really happy. If they are the really, really excited, smiley emoji, right? We don't really need a marketing team. They do our marketing for us. Our clients go and are raving fans, and they tell all their friends and other clients about how great we are, and we get inbound leads. Okay, so 5 golden metrics for customer centricity, creating entrepreneurs within our business. Gross profit, are we doing it within budget? Yeah. Performance as well. We still need to deliver the performance for the client that they are demanding, right? So gross profit, are we doing it within scope? Performance, are we doing what the client is expecting us to be doing? Are we doing this whilst retaining all of our clients, i.e. we're not over-servicing them and spending all of the time to get the performance that they need for that amount of gross profit? We're growing those accounts and we're retaining them, and we're keeping them happy so that they become our marketing team. They're my kind of 5 golden metrics. And don't forget your leading indicators. Yeah, what's the input we're doing? Don't just measure the output, because that looks backwards. Measure the input, because it tells you how effective your input is being to generate the output that you need.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Janusz. Let's, we have 3 votes that it's answered, so let's go to the next one. I don't have a question, but a recommendation. That's nice. What works for us is daily morning stand-up, yes, group hangout within the team. Share what's your day plan, what you will work on. Get perspective and keep focus. Actually, that's also our experience as a little team. We do this also daily. We are a very small team, then it's possible. And that really helps us to keep focus, and very, very good also to understand what the other parties are working on, when to help out. In our framework, we also share who else we want to support, because it's really important, and we normally start also what we are grateful for, because one thing you have to bear in mind, you have a long to-do list, you have a lot of things, a lot of OKRs you want to implement, but be very grateful for what you have already achieved, what's going around you, because that already activates some dopamine receptors within your brain, and you will be much more positive about things, and there will be a much better energy in the room to really do things. So thank you very much for sharing this. Janusz, you want to add something here as well, or?
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And I think the most important bit of that whole sentence is the last two words: keep focus. And so many agencies I think that I work with, I've seen do that. We have a stand-up. Yeah. We get up in the morning. This is what I'm working on today. This is what I'm working on tomorrow. And then that's it. And then they meet tomorrow and go, well, I didn't complete all of that stuff from yesterday. But this is what I'm working on today, and this is what I'm working on tomorrow. So I think the stand-ups are really, really great for communication. Yeah. But that focus piece, what people are working on today is the focus. Yes, absolutely. So let's try and maintain that focus. If we have project managers, it is now their job to kind of ensure that if we said we're going to do this today, let's make sure it happens. So stand-ups, yes, for communication, brilliant. That's the focus for today. Let's try and make sure that that focus is actually realized.
Yes, thank you very much, Janusz. Thank you very much for the person that shared this. It's really great. Let's go over to the next question. Can you recommend tools for creating a vision? Well, I give the first word to Janusz now, and then I will add something there.
I've just discovered this, and I feel bad that I haven't discovered it sooner. And I'm going to share my screen.
Wait, I will actually stop sharing 1 second. So.
Which is incredible, and I'm kind of asking all of my clients to do it now. So screen share. And in fact, there might be an agency on the line who we had this conversation with yesterday. There are a ton of really, really great workshop facilitation techniques at this website, gamestorming.com. Yeah, they make workshops and group exercises fun whilst delivering a really, really focused output. Cover Story, I think, is incredible for defining your vision. And what Cover Story does is it tries to lift you out of the now. Okay, let's not think about where we are now. We're in the middle of the woods, middle of the forest, and I can't see my way through it. Let's elevate ourselves and say, what's the newspaper article, what's the magazine that we would like to be written about our agency in 3, 5, 10 years time? And now let's go and design that magazine article. What would go on the cover? Right? What should it say about our agency? Yeah, our agency becomes the biggest, the best agency in the world. Our agency becomes the coolest or the highest quality or the most profitable. You know, what are the big headlines that we would want to say in that newspaper article? What images would we want to appear? Yeah, alongside that article. What quotes would we want to be said by our employees, by our partners, by Google, by our clients? Oh, they were so great to work with. They've just seen explosive growth over the past 3 or 4 years. Yeah. What are the sidebars? What are the key data points that you'd want to highlight in that magazine article? And then what are the brainstorms? What are the thoughts around that we want people to be thinking as they read it? And once you've done it, pay a graphic designer for a day to design it into an actual magazine article, have it blown up to A0, and hang it in your office, so that every day when you walk in, you can see a glossy magazine of who you're trying to become, and it's a constant, beautiful, pretty, usable reminder of what you're all working very hard to achieve. That would be my top tip, I think. Simone, any thoughts from you?
Yes, I can just add here as well. I actually did the cover stories. I did not know that this site actually exists. It's great. I will actually use it quite often, but I use the cover story quite frequently with clients, also with on one agency, to really emphasize as a team, what does it mean? However, I think you as a founder, as a CEO, you need to have a vision. And I also have the case that I'm working, it's not an agency, it's a client. He has lost a bit the vision. And I think what is very important for you as CEOs is really, you need to know what you actually, it needs to be driven from a real vision from you as a person. So I can recommend you, if you have at the moment no site, even with this cover story, when you work with your team, you may feel something, but you need to create. It's nice to be the biggest agency of Germany, but maybe this is not something so outstanding. What I would recommend to you, you would be really working pragmatically again with your people. Work with the social team for some time, work with the performance team, go down, work on accounts, and get again the feeling what you actually do, to really develop a vision, because you need to have a vision back maybe from the field. I think if you as a founder have lost vision, what to do, you may lack a bit of operational insights what's actually going on. So I would definitely do this cover story like Janusz has explained. I would also do an offsite with the team, but I would also collect some more inputs from the field, go to your clients, speak to the people around you, speak with your employees, speak with your clients, and really develop what will we do in 5 or 10 years. Speak with the publisher, with Google, use these events to really develop what is our unique positioning in the market. And what I'm normally using as well is the Golden Circle from Simon Sinek, Find Your Why. I can really recommend this as a book. Also for you as a CEO, if you lost the traction, make first for yourself, what is my why? Why did I found this company? And to really actually develop the vision and the strategy around this. The Simon Sinek book is really great as well. I share my screen again. So let's go back to the questions. Let's answer this as answered. Next one. I don't have a question, but a recommendation. No, that was the next one, sorry. Yeah. Regarding efficiency measurement, we divide all income by all staff working hours. That number quite well represents our efficiency and staff utilization. Absolutely. And I would nothing complement with this. I know this is a very hard fact, but within Accenture, this really worked very well. And also with our little team, we really look on the billable hours we have. Not so much that we want people to track really their hours. I don't care if they work 10 hours for a client or only 8. I want to see how much I can sell further in before we need to take someone new in the team. That's for me the steering mechanism that we need to plan. I think it's a really well-working KPI. Of course, it should not reflect something to your pricing. I mean, the pricing should be maybe a bit more innovative, but it definitely shows when you need to hire someone or when you can actually relax and just sell some more clients some work. Janusz, you want to add something here?
Yes. That it's a really, really difficult thing to measure, probably. Measure it, absolutely. Have targets, absolutely, for doing it. But remember that we have the emotional bit of our brain too, and that just by looking at the numbers, we don't necessarily understand the why. So the conversation around the numbers and how we measure it is really, really important, because there's going to be exceptions. And equally, as we grow, so the agency who's been backed by venture capital wants to grow, needs to retain all of their employees through that growth journey, right? Because the more employees that they're losing, the more time they're wasting. So their utilization might drop a bit, right? And that's cool, because actually their goal is to get big, and to get big, we need to retain all of this really, really good talent. To measure it, yes, absolutely. I'm a big advocate of measuring kind of billability and utilization, but have the conversation, understand the why, and understand why those numbers are what they are, understand what's acceptable within the context, again, of where you're going. I have another question, actually, offline, from somebody offline, which was just to share the books that I recommended, or that I kind of, I guess, used in my presentation. So I'm just going to share my screen very quickly. These were the three, really. This one, I won't say the name out loud, is the key message was kind of as I described, really. It's that shit happens. Life's hard. Personal life is hard. Career life is hard. Business growth is hard. Nobody really has it easy, or very, very few people have it easy. So the majority of us are living a hard life, a tough life. So let's just make that toughness, the challenge, the day-to-day actually worthwhile. Figure out where we want to be. It's going to be hard anyway. Right? One thing was kind of, I guess, the crux of my presentation, which is figuring out what that one thing is that you should be doing to make everything else easier. And then Atomic Habits was the bit at the end, really, which is around big things don't happen all at once. Yeah, Apple didn't get big on day one. Google didn't get big on day one. Big things happen as a consequence of lots of little things over time. Time is the multiplier. So how do we get in the habit of doing those little things over time? It was by time boxing. It's by doing them for long enough so that they become and they feel natural. And it's understanding that actually we need to wait a little bit to see the benefits and the results of that input. We have to wait a little bit to get, again, that dopamine kick that we want to feel. Okay, so that was really just the question that was directed at my book. So Simone, I don't know if you have anything else to add on those points or not.
No, perfect. I think that's great. I will share my screen back again to just answer the remaining questions. And I think, Janusz, you have also them in the deck. And I think, as I understood Maria, she will also share the deck with everyone. So I think you can definitely order the book directly or straight on Amazon or anywhere else. So perfect. Thank you so much. Maybe to add is also the Simon Sinek Find Your Why. If you have problems to get a vision for your company at the moment, we can add this as well retrospectively. Perfect. Let's answer this as read. I don't have a question, but a recommendation. No, this is the same. Sorry, I just thought. So, should everyone in the organization have fixed OKRs, or only the organization as a whole? Very good question. So, like we already highlighted, Janusz and myself, I think it's very important to have a real strategic plan. So I would first define strategic goals. So for instance, I work at the moment with a veterinarian chain. They have bought a lot of independent veterinarians. So it's a huge organization. And what we had taken in as an OKR is to become digitalize the patient room, because people get impatient to wait. They want to, so it's like a big stream. It's a big strategic goal. And there is a lot of little projects below. We don't do them on like all in one quarter, but we define maybe one project that we really can implement until then in all clinics, and that everyone can keep up pace with it. So I think first you really need to have as a management team, what is our strategic focuses, what is the priority, and then I would really ask rather employees to work with you on those projects to really get it done by the end of the quarter, than to take too many projects on, but rather do this. So if it's on your agenda to redo your pricing, then you say, okay, now for Q3 we will redo our pricing. And work together on it, and not that you have 6 or 7 strategic projects and nothing is really working out. And there should have also a certain kind of attention. However, I'm strongly recommending that everyone is doing himself goals that has nothing, can be related to an OKR, but also me as a goal, what I want to achieve personally, and that can be related to an OKR, but can be also for me as personal development. But that is something that I would also differentiate about. Anything to add, Janusz?
Yeah, I'm going to show something that I think, what's just happened? I'm going to show something that I think possibly a few of the agents I've been working with have already seen, so if you guys bear with me. But I found this image, Trello produced it. And what this says is to think about your OKRs cascading, right? Cascading through the business. Try and visualize it like this. So these are OKRs for an NFL team, an American football team, which says general manager has accountability over the entire organization. He manages the club and the business. His objective is to make dollars, make money for the shareholders. Yeah, that's his objective. His key result, how is he going to achieve it? Well, he has these 2 things to do. 1, win the Super Bowl. 2, fill the stadium to 88%. Get the stadium full. If he does those 2 things and he's accountable for doing it, he makes the required amount of money for the shareholders. He or she then delegates those accountabilities, those key results, to people within his team. He says to the head coach, your objective is to win the Super Bowl. He says to the head of PR, your objective is to fill the stadium to 88%. And they go, how do we do that? And they do these things, and then they delegate those down to people within their team. So in terms of what the OKRs are for the business and for the employees, etc., I think if you can, get a really, really clear focus of the goal for the business at the top and set this clear focus, cascade them through the team. You then know that those within your business that are working within OKRs that are actually contributing to the goal and the vision of the business. So from a business perspective, that's great. B, in terms of employee engagement, if I sit at the bottom, I now know exactly how my work contributes to the vision of the business. I feel engaged. I can see the benefit of the work that I do, how it's benefiting people around me, how it's benefiting the goals of the business. And I think this was the point I was making earlier about an agency that I've worked with that started at the bottom, tried to figure out what needed to be at the top. And it's kind of the other way around, really. We need to think about what's the focus for the business, what's the strategy, what's the objective, what's the key results to support it, and then how do we cascade that through the business so that everybody has visibility.
Perfect, thank you. And very, very important, bearing in mind, don't take normal KPIs as an OKR. Like selling, like your sales pipeline and your sales plan has nothing to do with an OKR, it's business as usual. OKRs are, for me, strategic projects that are really on top of your business as usual. For your business as usual, you need to have a very good KPI set, like we discussed, like things that you really track to know that the operations are going on well, that your customer satisfaction is there, but it has nothing to do with implementing a strategic project that you actually need to work on to be still in the business in 3 or 4 years. Perfect, then let's see, let's take this. I think then this was it. Because this one was just the recommendation. I never marked it as read. Perfect. So I think we have no further questions regarding the vision, strategy, and business plan. I had prepared more discussion rounds because I'm very surprised and I'm very happy actually that we got so many questions. We had in total 9 answered questions and 1 recommendation, which is great. So thank you so much for this discussion. Let's see, there might be more discussions regarding value-based pricing. I think that shows a bit that you really want to exchange. So maybe for our next meeting in Warsaw, it could be quite nice to eventually also discuss a bit more about certain things, which we did not have the time now. I will give back the word to Maria, and see you very soon. And Janusz, thank you very much for all the contributions. And yeah, Maria, so the word is up to you.
Thank you so much. So first of all, thank you guys for a very inspirational speech. I really loved it, and there are so many things I wrote down myself. So what is happening right now, we are in the middle of the coaching sessions. So please, guys, really make the most out of this elevator program. It was created for you, so it's really up to you how you're going to benefit from it. So you still have a midterm, so right now you can kind of change your strategy and make really the transformation within your agency. We are going to meet again at the end of September in Warsaw. As Simone already said, that will be happening on the 23rd and the 24th of September. And we are going to send more information via emails in the next days, few days or weeks. So don't worry about that. Perfect. And then at least I would like to say that really start working on your goals and have a deep discussion with your coaches. Really, your coaches are here for you, so make the best out of it. And you can even think about some very inspirational story or path you took as an agency. And we would like to see that success during our Warsaw event. So it would be amazing to hear how this program helped you. So guys, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. We are ending the webinar now, and we're looking forward to seeing you in Warsaw soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.